Okay, these are the notes for mean, median, mode, and range. This is not in your textbook. It's also not on Hawks, but it is on the final exam. So it's just a little short topic that we cover for the final, but it's not found anywhere else. So let's get started. Mean, median, mode, and range. I'm going to tell you what each one of them means and how to keep that straight. Okay, mean is a fancy word for average. Okay, so you've very familiar with like averaging grades or averaging prices or averaging scores, maybe in a game or something. But mean is a fancy way to say average. Now, here's how you're going to remember that. The word mean has an E and an A in its spelling. Well, the word average has two A's. There's the first and there's the second. And it also has two E's. There's the first and there's the second. So the word mean goes with the word average. They both have E's and A's in them. How do you get the mean? Well, you basically add them all up and divide by how many there are. And that's what this is saying right here. You add all the numbers in the set and then divide by how many numbers were in that set. Okay, so there's an example, but I have a few more. Terry bought 8 shirts. The cost of each shirt was $21, $18, $24, $15, $42, $11, $13, and $35. What is the average price Terry spent on shirts? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add up 21 plus 18 plus 24 plus 15 plus 42 plus 11 plus 13 and plus 35. We're going to add all that up. Now I'm going to have to pause my video because I did not come prepared and I do not have my calculator. So give me just a second. And I'm going to go get my calculator. Okay, I'm back. I got my calculator. Sorry. So I added all these up and I'm getting $179. And then because it asked for the average, remember average means mean, we're going to divide by the number of shirts that Terry bought, which is 8. And we're talking about money. So money rounds to 2 decimal places. So 179 divided by 8, that's going to be 22.375. Now let me talk about rounding just a little bit because we did have some problems on that rounding lab. If you're going to round to 2 decimal places, you actually look behind that second decimal to this 5. And what that 5 is going to do is it's going to bump that up and make this $22.38 for the average price of Terry's shirts. So it's not $22.37. That would be rounded wrong. $22.38. That is the mean price of his shirts. Example 2. Kalia has 6 tests in math 143. She made a 92, 78, 87, 95, and 98 on the first 5 tests. What must she make on the final test in order to secure a 90 average in the class? Well, there's several ways to do this. I'm going to show you one way you might figure out a formula. You can do it differently. But I'm going to put 6 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Kalia wants to have an average of 90. That's her goal, is to have an average of 90. So let's see, I mean, just hypothetically, the girl could make a 90 on all 6 tests, and that would give her an average of 90. If you make a 90 on every single test, then your average is a 90. And so if I were to add that up, 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90, that's 96 times, and 9 times 6 is 54. So I would have 540 total points. That's how many points she needs in order to have a 90 average. Well, let's go back to our hypothetical situation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is actually the real situation. Well, she didn't make a 90 on the first test. She made a 92. And on the second test, she made a 78. And on the third test, she made an 87. And on the fourth test, she made a 95. And the fifth test, she made a 98. And we don't know what this test is right here. That's what we're trying to figure out. What does she have to make on that last test if she wants her average to be a 90? Well, here's the thing. She still needs 540 points. She still needs 540 total points to have a 90 average. Well, let's see how many points she has. I'm going to add these up, 92 plus 78 plus 86 plus 95 plus 98. I got to do that in my calculator. And that is 450 points thus far. So Kalia has 450 points thus far. She wants 540 points. That's what she needs if she wants that average of a 90. So if we just subtract what she wants 540. She's got 450. She needs 90 points on that last test. So she needs to make a 90 on the final test. Now, there are ways to set up an algebraic equation for this particular example, and you're welcome to do it a different way than I did. But the answer is 90, and the way that I chose to do it was to see what the number of points would be that she would need on 6 tests to have an average of 90. Okay, let's move on to median. The way you're going to remember this, median means middle. How are you going to remember that? Well, in the middle of this word right here is an I. And if you look at the word middle, M-I-D-D-L-E, middle also has an I in the word. There are no other words that we're going to study in this video that have an I. So median means the middle point. And if you look at the information that's given, that's exactly what they say. Median is the number in the middle. It's not the same as the average, okay? It's what would be in the middle. Now, there are several situations that can occur. You can have an odd number of sets, or you can have an even number of sets. If you have an odd number of sets, number one, you put them in order, okay? So the first thing you want to do is reorder them from smallest, number 2 is our smallest, to largest. That's very important. And then you just kind of cancel out. The small cancels with the large, the second smallest cancels with the second largest, the third smallest cancels with the third largest. And so my median is 5. It's just the one that's slap dab in the middle. But what happens if you have an even number of elements? Okay, that's a little bit different. Again, you still want to reorder them first. You always reorder. Excuse me, I've got to cough. You're going to put them in smallest. This is your smallest, 2, to largest. And then you cancel. Smallest cancels out the largest. Second cancels out the second to last. And I'm stuck with 2 this time. I didn't have a nice, neat middle point. Well, what do you do there? You find the middle of those 2. How do you do that? You average. So 4 plus 5 divided by 2, that's 9 divided by 2, which is 4.5. I'm going to have to get a swallow of water. Let me pause this. Okay, forgive me. I've had so many interruptions. Let's look at some examples of how this would play out in the real world. Example 3, find the median price of Terry's shirts in example 1. Okay, so example 1, we're looking over here. The first thing I need to do is write Terry's shirts in order. So the cheapest one, let's see, is $11. I'm going to scratch it out as I've used it. Next is 13. I'm going to scratch it out as I've used it. The next shirt would be $15. And then we have 18. I think 21 would come next. I'll scratch those out. 24, 35, and 42. Now make sure that you've used all your data sets. That would be 8 shirts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you just start canceling. First cancels with last. Second cancels with second to last. Third cancels with third to last. And then I have 2 in the middle because my data set was even. So I'm going to average those up. 18 plus 21 divided by 2. That's 39 divided by 2. Now again, we're talking about money. We were talking about the price of his shirts. So when you put that in your calculator, you're going to get a decimal, and it's only going to have 1 decimal. Okay, so it's going to be 19.5. But that's not our answer because that's not a dollar amount. Nobody's ever gone and bought a shirt and the person said, that'll be 19.5. That doesn't happen. That's not how we count money in America. So we need to convert this using our dollar sign, and the answer would be $19.50. You have to add that zero. The calculator is not going to have it there. So the calculator is just going to have 19.5. But money in America goes to 2 decimal places. So make sure you add that zero. Example 4, find the median of Kalia's test. All of her tests, all 6 of them. So that includes that 90 that she made on that very last test. All right, let's see. The lowest she made was a 78, so that comes first. And then she made an 87. And then she made a 90, then a 92, and a 95, and a 98. Once again, we have an even set of data, so we're going to have to average those middle two. Scratch it, cancel, and average these two together. Now you can probably figure out a 90 and a 92. Halfway in the middle there is a 91. Now I don't need any decimals here because I'm talking about the grade on a test. So the median grade, this is her median grade, the middle of all her tests. Now notice she didn't even make a 91. That's not one of her actual grades, but that would be the median of her test grades. Moving on to the last page. Let's see. I think I'm going to pause this and do the last 2 pages as a second video because I'm afraid I might not have time to finish it all. So this is the video for mean, which means average, and median, which means middle.